The West never saw it coming. While world powers were busy playing geopolitical chess, two so-called underdogs, Burkina Faso and Bangladesh, quietly signed a deal in July 2025 that could shift the balance of global trade. It wasn't just a cotton agreement. It was a wake-up call. Without press conferences or big speeches, these two nations cut through the noise and made a move that sent ripples through the old order. No aid packages, no foreign consultants, no middlemen taking the lion's share, just two developing countries recognizing each other's value and acting on it. At the center of it all is Captain Ibrahim Traore, a leader the West labels unpredictable, but his people call unstoppable. Traore isn't here to play the charity game. He's rewriting the rules. He's trading tractors for power, not pipelines for permission. This deal is about more than cotton. It's about agency. It's about South-South cooperation in its purest form. While global headlines barely blinked, this agreement marks something revolutionary. Developing nations forging their own path, on their own terms, without asking for validation from Washington, Brussels, or the World Bank. The structure of the deal is simple, smart, and powerful. Bangladesh, one of the world's largest textile producers, needs steady access to quality cotton. Burkina Faso grows some of the best cotton on the planet, but has long been stuck exporting raw goods for scraps. Now, without the usual Western brokers taking a cut, both sides win. Bangladesh secures reliable raw material for its $45 billion garment industry. Burkina Faso's farmers, many of whom have lived on the edge of poverty, finally get access to markets that respect the value of their labor. But this isn't just a trade deal. It's a message, a declaration. Traore is showing that Africa no longer needs to wait at the back of the line for aid or trade opportunities wrapped in debt and dependency. By working directly with Bangladesh, Burkina Faso is proving that the continent can go global without going through the West. And Bangladesh didn't hesitate. Their ambassador made it clear. This is about long-term partnership, technical training in irrigation, pest control, post-harvest logistics, education exchanges, even future military cooperation for peacekeeping and disaster relief. It's not just about cotton. It's a multidimensional alliance that challenges the old norms of how the global South engages with the world. This deal is just the beginning. It sends a loud signal across the continent. You don't have to wait. You don't have to beg. You can build. All it takes is courage. The courage to shake the right hand and the vision to stand tall on your own soil. Captain Traore isn't focused on today's headlines. He's planting seeds that could shape Africa's next century. This isn't just Burkina Faso's story. It could be the future of an entire continent. The cotton deal with Bangladesh is only one part of a much larger strategy, one that dares to redefine the continent's place in global trade. Since taking office, Traore has signed new partnerships with 8 countries across Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America, including India, Turkey, and Cuba. His message is clear. Africa will no longer rely on old colonial ties to grow. It will build its own web of cooperation on its own terms. What makes Traore's approach different is that he doesn't treat agriculture like a burden. He sees it as Burkina Faso's greatest asset. For decades, Western leaders viewed Africa as a source of cheap labor and raw goods. But Traore sees fields as gold mines and farmers as builders of sovereignty. The agreement with Bangladesh reflects this mindset. It wasn't signed in a back room by disconnected bureaucrats. It happened face-to-face with vision and intent. It includes not only cotton trade, but also collaboration in areas like education, healthcare, and rural development. Even visa exemptions and military training programs are on the table, proof that this partnership runs deep. Traore understands something that corrupt leaders across the continent ignore. Real power doesn't come from foreign loans or flashy cars. It comes from feeding your people, educating your youth, and shaking hands with partners who respect you. That's exactly what he's doing. By strengthening ties with Bangladesh, Traore is doing more than selling cotton. He's building a support network, one that bypasses Western dominance and empowers African leadership. He's showing that respect can't be borrowed. It must be earned and defended. And in doing so, he's lighting a path for others to follow. Because real change doesn't happen when you imitate the powerful. It happens when you believe in your own power and use it to lift others with you. While many leaders talk about feeding their nations, Captain Ibrahim Traore is actually doing it. His agricultural revolution is not a slogan. It's a sweeping campaign backed by real numbers, real machines, and real results. In 2024, instead of spending money on luxury cars and foreign travel, Traore invested over 78 billion CFA francs into the fields. The results, more than 400 tractors, 239 motorcycles, 710 motor pumps, and over 68,000 tons of fertilizer were distributed directly to farmers. Thousands of liters of phytosanitary products, vegetable seeds, and animal feed followed. For the first time, Burkina Faso's rural workers were not forgotten. They were prioritized, and the impact is visible in villages that once harvested only enough to survive. Yields have tripled. New crops like tomatoes and onions are being grown alongside staples like millet and maize. What used to be struggling subsistence farms are now buzzing with economic activity. Farmers are selling their produce to local markets and processing centers like the $12 million tomato factory built entirely from domestic funds. But Traore's vision doesn't stop at equipment. He knows that real transformation comes with knowledge. That's why Burkina Faso has partnered with countries like Bangladesh to transfer advanced farming techniques, drip irrigation, pest control, post-harvest handling. The goal is not just to grow more, but to grow smarter. The Perry SBF Irrigation Initiative is one such example. Powered by solar energy, it has opened up $1,800 hectares of arable land directly benefiting over 21,000 people. These are not abstract numbers. These are families, mothers, fathers, children whose lives have changed because water now flows where dust once ruled. And perhaps most importantly, these changes are not imported. They are built from within. Every bag of fertilizer, every pump, every seed, every policy comes from a belief that Africa can feed itself without permission, without pity. Traore is proving that dignity grows best when it's planted at home. And in Burkina Faso, the harvest is just beginning. Captain Traore knows that seeds alone won't feed a nation. It takes people, especially the young, to till the soil, nurture crops, and carry the vision forward. That's why he's investing not just in land, but in the hands that work it. In 2025 alone, over 2,000 young Burkinabe were trained in modern agronomy and civic education within just 3 months. These weren't just classroom lectures. They were field training, cooperative projects, and hands-on experience with new technologies. Traore's government gave these youths not only knowledge, but a mission. But the investment didn't stop there. Agricultural students were granted access to free land for research and experimentation. No bureaucracy, no red tape, just tools, soil, and a purpose. This bold initiative redefined farming not as a last resort, but as a respected profession for the next generation. And the results are visible. Across rural provinces, young people are staying instead of leaving. They're forming cooperatives, starting agri-businesses, and taking pride in working the land. Traore is turning farming from a symbol of poverty into a badge of progress. He sees the youth not as a burden, but as Burkina Faso's greatest asset. And by putting them at the center of the agricultural revolution, he's proving that the future of Africa isn't something to fear. It's something to farm. For years, poor infrastructure kept Burkina Faso's farmers isolated, trapped by dirt roads that turned to rivers during the rainy season. Crops spoiled, markets were out of reach, and hope faded with every muddy mile. Captain Traore saw this not as a logistics problem, but as a moral crisis. So he acted. His government committed to building 5,000 kilometers of roads every year, not with foreign contractors, but with local engineers, trained youth, and community consultation. By July 2025, over 1,500 kilometers of paved roads had been completed, linking rural villages to urban trade centers. But this isn't just about pavement. It's about power, community power. The roads are built using solar power machinery and locally sourced materials, ensuring that development doesn't come at the cost of debt. Every new road cuts costs, saves time, and saves lives. In villages like Lao, the transformation is undeniable. What used to take days now takes hours. Trade flows freely. Ambulances reach the sick. Food stays fresh. But these aren't just roads, they're lifelines. Traore's infrastructure isn't about concrete and gravel. It's about liberation. In a continent long paved over by foreign agendas, he's proving that when Africans build their own roads, they choose their own direction. This goes beyond cotton. It's a bold declaration from a nation that refuses to be silent, led by a man who refuses to bow. Captain Traore isn't waiting for permission or applause. He's feeding a nation, educating its youth, connecting its regions, and forging partnerships that skip past centuries of dependency. His deal with Bangladesh wasn't just smart. It was symbolic, a message to the world. We will trade, not beg. We will rise, not wait. Burkina Faso is no longer following the pace. It's setting it. And as the West watches in disbelief, other African nations are taking note. The path forward is clear. Trade over aid, soil over slogans, pride over pity. The question is no longer what will the world give Africa? The real question now is what will Africa offer the world? If others follow Traore's lead, the answer will be loud, just, and unstoppable. The time for hesitation is over. The age of African direction has begun. So let the soil speak. Let the people rise. And let the world finally listen.